Hey everybody, welcome to another Dunbar Academy mailbag. Before we get started, we just want to remind you to subscribe so you don't miss any of our new videos, and if you want to learn more about dog behavior and training, make sure to check out our dunbaracademy.com link in the description below. Okay, let's get started.
This one is from Margine, and the question says, I'm a qualified canine instructor, only using positive reward-based training. I have one question. Could Ian please make a video in which he explains in a very simple way why the dominance theory training does not work? I keep getting confronted with it because it has been on television with all reruns and keep going on and on. Even a good friend of mine, a Cane Corso owner, gets kind of aggressive when I try to explain why I use positive training. I mean, that's actually very funny that the person's getting aggressive when we want to train using reward training. A very clear explanation. Yeah, okay. Well, the dominance theory, number one, it's not a theory. I mean, it's ridiculous. This is a sort of subjective interpretation. It's not even really a hypothesis, but it has been capitalized on by, you know, the sort of person, you've got to teach your dog who's boss, this sort of thing, and people who frequently will use some kind of punitive means in training, you know, grabbing the dog, rolling them over, jerking the dog's leash, shock, stuff like that. So there's probably, when I think about it, in terms of scientific evidence, I mean, I'm the only person who's ever studied the development of dominance hierarchies. And what we found was the way dogs do it, if left to their own devices, it's just not domineering at all. Yes, older dogs will teach and correct younger dogs, but that's why they have a stable social hierarchy. It's the whole point of it. It's why the puppy's license to misbehave is cancelled, and then they're rambunctious social idiots, always making mistakes, so their elders... and elders need only be a puppy that's 2 weeks older or 2 months older, or adolescents or adults can easily correct the puppy without causing any harm, obviously, and putting it in its place. So the puppy grows up always being at the bottom of the totem pole, and it doesn't really have the mindset to challenge the social order later on. So the whole point of social hierarchy, yes, dogs have social hierarchy, social order, especially male dogs, but female dogs will be breaking the social rules all the time. They have all these amendments to male social structure, like I have it, you don't, or you've got it, I want it. And it causes havoc. But with male dogs, it's pretty much set in stone, and it's established without injury, and then it's maintained with very little effort at all. So it's really totally understood. We do not have in dogs a so dominant structure when one adult dog's putting down the puppy and frightening it and hurting it and doing things, you know. It doesn't happen. Yeah, you will get dogs that move very quickly, like this. But obviously those adult jaws are not causing any harm, or else the puppy's head would come off. I mean, it's even ridiculous to think that. So, you know, it's not a theory. And a lot of the results, scientific results on various hierarchical structures in different animals, they now have a completely different take on it. I mean, all the wolf stuff now, the interpretation of that has pretty much been reversed, saying that leave it to themselves, they work it out pretty well. You know, certainly better than human-human hierarchies anyway. So how does it relate to training? This is the more important question, I think. It absolutely taints training. It gives owners the notion that you've got to frighten your dog or hurt your dog in the process of training. You've got to use aversive means, punitive means. And this is what's so wrong. Even if punishment were effective, which usually it's not, because to use punishment in training, you require a very high skill set. You've got to have a pretty good knowledge of learning theory, how animals learn. You've got to be consistent 24/7. You've got to have impeccable timing. And this isn't most owners that I know. And that's why reward training just rules the roost. Reward training rocks, because you can be totally inconsistent with reward training. You've only got to be consistent writing the rule. And the rule can be anything you write, like the dog can't get on the bed, or the dog can only get on the bed when I request it, or the dog must keep to its side of the bed, or the dog can be on the bed but not under the covers, or the dog can be under the covers but not lick me when I'm sleeping. I mean, you make up the rules where your dogs sleep. But in terms of training the dog reward training is so much quicker and more effective than using punishments in training. Because in reward training, there's only one right way. There's only one thing to teach, which takes a finite amount of time. Whereas punishment training, you've got to punish the dog for an infinite number of transgressions, which takes an infinite amount of time. Therefore, using punishments is longer. But more disturbingly, with punishments, you have to be absolutely consistent. If you miss once when you do not punish for your dog for what you consider a transgression, or the dog considers usually perfectly normal behavior, the dog learns those times when you can't punish it. Like when you're not at home, when off leash are the two biggest examples. And now your training goes down the toilet, and then you're going to more draconian ways of punishing, like shocking the dog. Just because you don't really know how to train, you've been unsuccessful because you're not a bad trainer, you're just using the wrong methods. To get punishments to work in training, you've got to have a very high skill set on par with clicker training. No, owners want it quick, easy, and effective, because the neat thing about reward training is you can be totally inconsistent. The dog comes to you in the park and you say, "Good dog, I'm going to give you a treat." "No, I won't." "Yes, I will." "No, I don't think I will this time. That was pretty slow." You can reward at random, and you will maintain that behavior at a higher frequency than if you reward every time consistently. This is the beauty of reward training. But even if punishments did work, it's just so wrong. It should never have been a part of binary feedback. It should never have been a part of training. Why? Because it's simply so insufficient. I mean, I'm not even talking about the emotional, knee-jerk, humane reactions people have here to all this stuff. It's just insufficient. It's not what we want to do. When dogs get it wrong, they jump up. The mission is not to stop them from jumping up. The mission is to stop them from jumping up and teach them how to greet people properly. We don't need anything fancy like the dog wearing a tuxedo and walking on his hind feet with a silver tray of sherry glasses. "Oh, hello, welcome to the house." We just want them to sit. It's so simple. So let's train the dog to sit as a default setting when greeting people. Then there's no need to do all this other stuff when it jumps up. And when you read the books, it is pretty scary what is done to dogs that jump up. Hold the paws, squeeze the paws, hit them over the head with a rolled up newspaper, whack them over the head with a hose pipe with a bit of lead in it, stamp on their hind toes, knee them in the chest, flip them over backwards, shock them, jerk them, all because the puppy committed one crime. He grew. You see, you rewarded this when he was little and put his little paws on your knee because he was too tiny to jump up to say hello to your face. So you pet him on the head. You rewarded this behavior, then you suddenly switched on him. New rules. You're too big. No jumping up. I'm going to do this horrible stuff to you. It is just stupid, silly, unthinking, barbaric. Why don't you just teach the dog to sit? Always employ the maxim, if this is wrong, what is right? And when you think your dog is misbehaving or being non-compliant, so make sure in the correction, not only do we stop what he's doing, but we show him exactly what we want him to do and we train him to do it. He's peeing on the floor, outside. Chewing his shoes, chew toy. Jumping up, sit. Chasing the cat, sit. Running out the front door, sit. Making a noise, being hyperactive, using your living room as an agility course. On your bed, settle down, shush. Words. This is what has disappeared from training. Simple instructions. Teaching dogs to do what we want and then heavy duty, mega reinforcing them to want to do it. It's ridiculous. So that, to me, is the spectre of this whole dominance rubbish. And the worst thing about it, and you know I like dogs, is not the effect it has on dogs. The effect it has on an unsuspecting dog owner who is forced to do this horrible stuff to their dog. They know it's wrong. They know it's wrong. They feel terrible inside, but they just don't know the right way. What we got to concentrate on is showing people the right way, how quick it is, how easy it is, how effective it is. So that was a very good question. Thank you, Margine.
Thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to learn more about dog training and behavior, make sure you visit DunbarAcademy.com to check out our selection of courses, many of which are completely free. If you'd rather watch more of our videos here on YouTube, just click the links to the right. And if you want to follow us on social media, everything you need is directly below. As always, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell for notifications.